Okay, so I'm Scott, and this is my pitch for a short film called Limbo. It's not a definite name actually yet, but yeah. Okay, so before I explain like the narrative and what happens and the influences and stuff, I'm actually just going to explain the general aesthetic and shot type and what it's going to look like, because I just want to put it into context before explaining what it's going to look like. So, what's going to happen? So, it's going to be black and white. Because I'm influenced by a lot of early 20th century films, it's going to be black and white, and it's also going to be a silent film. I'm going to edit all the audio and sound in post-production, and sound effects and music. It's going to be dark and gloomy and very gothic looking, and it's going to use a lot of wide angles and minimalistic editing. I just want the editing to show the story. I'm not going to do anything proper with the editing. The dreamy sort of like bizarre sequences that are going to be in it, which I'll explain in a moment what's going to happen. But these sequences, I'm going to shoot some of them in reverse. I'm going to choreograph the actors to do their actions in reverse, and then in post production reverse the footage so it looks bizarre and really dreamlike. I'm also going to screen test it with a 4:3 aspect ratio, because I'm influenced by a lot of early 20th century films. A lot of them had 4:3, and I'm going to be using a lot of wide angles, so this is why I'm going to test it, because I don't know if it's a definite thing I'm going to do yet, but it would be cool if it was. Okay, so the plot summary. So basically, my film is about a couple, two individuals. At the start, they're in a car accident, and they reappear in their natural soul forms, like they reappear as their souls, and their souls are journeying to the afterlife, and they're both bound for different places. He's bound for the underworld and she's bound for heaven. It's going to have a linear narrative, but it's also going to have starting with the car crash, and then the story's going to unfold. But the ending, the twist, is going to be it's going to feature a flashback. That was the wrong one. So this is the narrative. So this is the timeline. So it opens with a car crash. Then it's like the title sort of sequence, and then these 5 scenes here are all different bizarre sequences that all link together. So this one, they appear as their natural forms in a field. He appears, and then moments later she appears, because they both die in this accident. She sort of runs away from him, and he runs after her, and they go down a rabbit hole and in this sort of tree line. It's going to look really weird. And they appear. He's very sort of in denial in this scene. In this scene, he gets stuck in a time loop and gets really angry. And then in this scene, he's like walking along. It's going to be a long sequence take. And he's sort of begging, like, to the sky. He wants to be out. He doesn't know what's going on. And then in this scene here, he sort of breaks down when he sees his girlfriend again, who's appeared like way towering over him. He breaks down in tears. And in this scene, he accepts his fate, where he's in like a tunnel travelling forward. And then in the final scene, he's appeared at the gates of hell, and that's when the twist is, because you find out that it's actually his fault that they both died in this car accident. It's his responsibility. He was on his phone and drunk driving and stuff. So these 5 scenes here have all got different themes. Now, I've based these 5 scenes on the 5 stages of grief. So we've got denial, anger, begging, communicating, and acceptance, which are all the 5 stages of grief. Okay, so the characters. So the main character, the man, he's called in the opening scene when we actually see what they're like. They're both like a cool sort of couple, I guess you could say. They both like music. They both wear. He sort of wears a backwards hat, and she wears like a scarf and big earrings and stuff. So they're both like a cool sort of couple, like, as you would probably say. But in the afterlife, they're obviously both their purer forms. So he's going to be wearing sort of like a plain sort of white shirt and trousers, and she's going to be wearing like a plain white dress, which eventually gets covered in blood the more further apart they get. Okay, so just before I go into like the main movements that influence this film. I'm just going to talk briefly about some modern cinema influences. So here we have The Lighthouse. I'm going to base my film a lot of what this film looks like. If you've seen it, you'll know it's 4:3 aspect ratio and black and white, lots of wide angles. That's what I want mine to look like. I put Tenet here. If you've seen Tenet, you'll know there's lots of reverse sequences. That's what I'm going to make mine look like. They all look really bizarre and weird. That's what I'm going to do in my film. We've got Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is my favourite film. Very influenced by the weird, bizarre sets and weird cinematography. And also this scene in mid-90s where they have a car crash, and I'm going to film my car crash in the same way. Because you don't actually see what happens. You just see them driving along, and then it cuts to this frame here where he's about to crash, and it cuts to black. So anyway, these are the two movements that have influenced my film. So we've first got French poetic realism. So this film here, Le Hotel du Nord, there's a long sequence take where this couple here are like walking along this bridge. I'm going to do a long sequence take in my film where he's going to be walking along through this like deserted, abandoned farm, where he's like looking up to the sky, begging and so forth. He's very confused. Because French poetic cinema uses a lot of long sequence takes to drive the story, and I also have here a film called Zero for Conduct where I know this photo is horrendous, the quality's not very good, I couldn't find any decent photos, but there's a slow motion sequence here where they're throwing pillows and stuff. I'm also going to use slow motion in mine to drive the immersion of the story. So at the end, when he's at the gates of hell, he's going to be screaming and it's going to be slow motion and like very dramatic. I'm also going to have a bittersweet ending in my film because you find out he's like guilty. You're satisfied that he's been served the justice, but you also feel sorry for him like throughout the whole film because you don't know what's going on. So the ending of my film was very bittersweet, and a lot of French poetic realism films had bittersweet endings because of their backgrounds, mainly being like linked to do with crime and working class people and stuff. It was always French poetic cinema films usually had like someone die at the end, and it'd be sad, but it'd be satisfying. Okay, so the other movement that's influenced my film, I think you all knew this was coming, German Expressionism, especially with the forced perspectives here. This is a film called Sunrise, and this is a film called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. A lot of these sets here are painted, look weird, bizarre. I'm going to do the same in my film. So in my film I'm going to have a scene when he runs down the rabbit hole, the whole forest is going to be covered, painted with strange like window painting things and like lanterns and doorways and stuff on the tree trunks, because he's not going to know sort of where to go, which has been heavily influenced by this film. And this film here, sorry, what I said before, Sunrise, there's a forced perspective here which also influenced Eternal Sunshine. I'm going to use a forced perspective in my film because in one of the scenes she's going to be towering over him and he's going to be really small, and they're both sort of communicating and it's going to look really weird. These are both influenced my film heavily, and German Expressionism as a whole has, because of the dark Gothic like nature of German Expressionism, and also the surrealism. That my film is very surreal. It's very bizarre looking. Okay, so the set design and props that I'm going to need, paint obviously to do stuff like this on the trees. I'm also going to need a lot of fake blood, because she's eventually going to get covered in blood the more the film goes on. And I'm also going to use fire as a motif. At the ending, when he's in hell, I'm just going to pause the camera because I think it's going to die. So when he's in the gates of hell, there's going to be a silhouette of fire, and I'm also going to use fire as a motif throughout because there's going to be like lots of lit fires. The certain location. So this is where I live at home. This is where I'm going to film the car crash scene. It's like an open road, no one really goes on it, so I'll easily be able to film it. And this is the field where they both appear. Now I'm sorry I don't have many photos here, but I'm also going to use like a farm as a set. I live on a farm at home, so I'll be able to use it. It's going to be deserted. I also live near an abandoned farm, so some of the scenes are going to be filmed there too. I'm also going to be shooting it through valleys and hills and stuff, because I live like in the countryside. I'll be able to shoot it. I'm also going to film it in the morning, on a winter's morning, so it's hopefully going to be very misty and like freaky. Your camera equipment that I'm going to need, a camera that shoots in 120 FPS because I want to get decent slow-mo footage, which I all have access to this. Some lighting rigs, a dolly because I want to get smooth, long sequence takes, I don't want it shaky. And I'm also going to need an audio recorder, which I also have. I'm not going to book any sort of boom equipment out because, like I said, it's going to be a silent film. So the audio and soundtrack, like I mentioned before, is going to be made in post-production. I'm just going to play around with like different sound effects and stuff. I'm going to use a guitar for some like really eerie grinding noises, which I'll all be able to record myself. The ethical and environmental implications, now there aren't really any because I'm not really going into this film trying to make a statement about anything political or ethical or environmental, but you could say that there's religious implications because obviously I'm using the idea of heaven and hell. I haven't really thought that through too much, like I'm not really a believer, so I'm just using it because I think it'd be a good idea for a film. But if an audience wants to interpret something, they can do. So now, this is the Q&A session, or what would be a Q&A session, where I'd answer some questions and accept and give criticism. No, not give criticism, but accept, provide ideas, and tell me what you like about it, and give criticism. And thank you very much for listening. This is my bibliography here. You won't be able to see it, but I'm also going to provide the PowerPoint when I hand this in, so you'll be able to see it. Thank you very much for watching.